Next Saturday, CBS Sports Spectacular presents highlights of NASCAR's 18th annual Dixie 500 with the leading stock car drivers racing for the checkered flag. The Pendleton Roundup Rodeo with Larry Mahan and Tom Ferguson heading the field of top Cowboys. Plus, the world's strongest men competition featuring the vehicle pull. That's next Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern.
All right, Cincinnati bounced back into the playoff picture this afternoon, beating the Cleveland Browns by a score of 10-7. Quarterback Kenny Anderson completed 14 of 19 passes for 153, including this to Isaac Curtis at the 16-yard line of the Browns. Curtis out of bounds, and it sets up this touchdown. Pete Johnson under fire from Boobie Clark, his teammate, who says I should be playing. Well, Johnson showed him it was 7-0. Here's Brian Sipe, 20 of 28 for 189 yards for the Browns. This one to Rucker, run out at the 13, sets up this touchdown. Sipe wants his tight end Oscar Rohn at the 1-yard line, and Rohn in for the score. It was tied at 7. And for the second week in a row, Chris Barr won it with a field goal, 10-7. Cincinnati's record now 4-4, and the Cleveland Browns are 5-3. Let's now get you up to date on all of the games that are underway and all of the final scores. Oakland leading Seattle 20-0 in the second quarter. Denver has just scored again, 21-0 ahead of Pittsburgh. The Steelers are in trouble right now. St. Louis, the game you're watching, leading Minnesota, and I'll tell you, that missed extra point could still prove to be a problem in that game. Los Angeles leading winless Tampa Bay by 10 in the second quarter. Now final scores. Kansas City beats Green Bay 20-10. AFC gets another victory against the NFC. Likewise here, Chicago played a dreadful game, 47-0. Houston a big winner, a lot of big plays. San Diego, the first AFC team to lose to an NFC team, 20-0. The Lions shut them out at home. The big upset of the day, Buffalo over New England, 24-14. Grogan was intercepted 4 times. Hooks replaces O.J. Simpson and gains 156 yards. Cincinnati and Cleveland, the highlights I just showed you. The Bengals win it by 3. Miami beats the New York Jets by 4. Greasy to Harris for 2 touchdowns in that game. San Francisco wins its 3rd in a row over Atlanta by 7. Philadelphia, Ron Jaworski tosses for 2 and runs for 2 more. 28-7 the final there. The Dallas Cowboys remain the only unbeaten team in the National Football League, 8 in a row, 24-10 over the Giants. And Phyllis, there must be some other news besides football today.
Yeah, well, there certainly is, Brent. In fact, in Atlanta, the Dixie 500 has been stopped due to rain after 336 miles, with Dave Pearson leading. Now, the word is they started up again with Richard Petty and Cale Yarbrough in 2nd and 3rd positions. And you can see the highlights of that race next Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the CBS Sports Spectacular. Now, in baseball news, Atlanta Braves owner Ted Turner appears closer to hiring New York Yankees coach Bobby Cox. Cox flew to Atlanta to meet with Turner, and a group of New Orleans businessmen visited Oakland A's owner Charlie Finley today in an effort to move the team to the Superdome. No deal is made as of yet. And this unusual development in New York this afternoon. The Attorney General has asked 5 boxing promoters to pay their back taxes to the state for matches they promoted last year. Combined, they owe more than, you ready for this, $400,000. Good luck, fellas.
Phyllis, speaking of highlights, you wait until you see White Shoes Johnson in action for Houston against Chicago. Back with that as the NFL Today continues on CBS after these messages from your local stations. The unbeaten Dallas Cowboys now return home, and a week from tomorrow night they host the St. Louis Cardinals. Irv, show us some highlights from that Giant game.
We'll take a look at it. Of course, the Cowboys won that game 24-10, and they came into Giant Stadium with everything going for them. Number 1 in total offense, number 1 in total defense, but they needed a break on special teams. Danny White punting the ball here to the Giants. Hammond bobbles it. Ball's picked up by the Giants here again. Ernie Jones, he's hit and fumbles, and is picked up by Jay Salty, who scoots into the end zone for the first score of the day, 7-0. Giants ball here on the 20-yard line for Sarchik. 2nd and 7. Throwing the ball here is picked off by Cliff Harris, which sets up this play. Now, this is a long pass here. Stahlbach trying to get deep here to Richards, and he's interfered in the end zone by Bill Bryant. So first down for the Cowboys on the 1-yard line. Dorsett goes in. Score, Dallas 21, New York 3. Bobby Hammond tries to make up for that muff punt as a Danny White kick here settles around the 40-yard line, and watch Bobby go. He carries that ball down to the 7-yard line, setting up a Hammond touchdown from the 1. You'll see it in a second. Dallas 21, New York 10. They went on to win the ball game 24-10 and remain undefeated.
Irv, a couple of teams that know each other very well got together down in Atlanta. The San Francisco 49ers and the Atlanta Falcons, as expected, a tough defensive game all the way. This is the opening kickoff to start the second half. Paul Hoffer gets his hands on it for the 49ers, and this turns out to be a very pivotal return in this game. The special team leading the way for the 49ers. Jimmy Plunkett held the 5 of 12 for 50 yards, but this a key pass. He hits Tom Mitchell, his tight end. Now Wilbur Jackson gets the touchdown. It's the first rushing touchdown this season against the Atlanta Falcons. It was 7-0. Atlanta trying to come back. 1st and 10 on their own 20-yard line. Woody Thompson will fumble now, and he had daylight ahead of him as he turned upfield. Recovered by Tony Winter of San Francisco, and he got back to the 19-yard line. Del Williams now takes the handoff from Plunkett. Looks like good blocking setup, but he's jarred loose, and that gives you an indication of how tough both these defensive units played. Freddie Steinfort, now kicking for Atlanta, got a field goal, but that was all they got, 10-3. Irv, the Philadelphia Eagles have got a quarterback. Jaworski played so well today.
Had a great day. Ran for 2 touchdowns, passed for 2 touchdowns. The Eagles walked off with a victory over the New Orleans Saints by a score of 28-7, and there were fireworks all day. There's Jaworski's first score in the second quarter, 7-0. Jaworski passes to Herb Luska on this play, and Herb makes a real nice catch here. Ball almost picked off and goes down to the 6-yard line. Jaworski going to a 6'8" wide receiver, Harold Carmichael. He picks it off. That's his first catch. He's caught passes in 74 consecutive games. Touchdown. Bobby Douglas tries to get back, and his ball is picked off here by John Deke Sanders. His second interception of the day, and his 4th of the year. Takes the ball down to the New Orleans 6-yard line, and Jaworski goes to Carmichael again. 2 pass receptions for Carmichael today, 16 yards, 2 touchdowns. Philadelphia 21-0 there. Ron Jaworski rolls out there, puts a little icing on the cake. He goes in. The Eagles win 28-7.
Irvin Phillips, it's now time for the White Shoes Billy Johnson show. Did he sting the Chicago Bears today? We're going to show you the end around. His first touchdown, but it was just the beginning. 61 yards for the big guy as he turns it loose. Got that great speed, got to the outside, and the Bears couldn't stay with him. Now, White Shoes, the first thing we want to see is a little dance down there from you in the end zone. That's it. Don't disappoint. Pastorini, 12 of 19, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns to Kenny Burrow, 85, and this one for 43 yards. Walter Payton, what kind of a day did he have? 18 carries, 79 yards, and he was in trouble here. Going to fumble, and watch Greg Bingham scoop it up and run 34 yards for the touchdown for the Oilers. Mike Phipps replaced Bob Avellini, and the Oilers buried the former Cleveland quarterback. It was a 2-point safety. Free kick coming up now from Chicago, and it is Johnson's turn again. Right straight up the middle he came, threaded his way through 3 would-be tacklers, broke a tackle by a 4th, got to the outside. Now, White Shoes, we've seen you dance. What else can you do for us down there? 47-0. Why not dunk it over the top of the end zone? Miami and the New York Jets. The Jets lost their brilliant young quarterback Richard Todd to a knee injury. Domrays tried to rally him, but it was this combination right here. Bob Greasy, 12 of 15, 132 yards. Hit Harris here for the first of 2 touchdowns, and watch him come right back to Harris. Watch Greasy thread this one. 2 defenders right there. Harris has got it, and it was 14-3 Miami. The Jets tried. This is 4th and 1 inside, and the Dolphin defense held. Now here's Domrays going to Barkham for the touchdown that made it 14-10. But again, it was the Dolphin defense that came up with the big plays. Watch them pressure Domrays. He had enough time. He just couldn't spot an open receiver. Get rid of it, Marty. Find somebody. He did, but not enough. 14-10 was the final score. The New York Jets lose to the Miami Dolphins, and the NFL Today will continue on CBS in just a moment. And the St. Louis Cardinals bounce back into that playoff picture this afternoon with that big victory over Minnesota. Right now, we'd like to check in on the Los Angeles Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That game did not move along as rapidly as Minnesota against the St. Louis Cardinals. And, of course, we will be checking in to see exactly what has happened. I saw Vince Ferragamo report into the game for the Los Angeles Rams, and we'll see how he's doing. They come up to the line of scrimmage, and they've got a chance now to score again. It is 24-0. This is live, what you're watching. Rams lead the Buccaneers right now. That's Ferragamo, the rookie from Nebraska, and they run the sweep right, and the Rams are stopped just short. Number 43 for the Los Angeles Rams is Jimmy Jodat. 5'11", 210. He's a first-year running back out of Carthage. Phyllis will tell us all about Carthage if I ask her, I'm sure. So the Rams have dominated this game. It was a homecoming for John McKay, but Tampa Bay has been completely ineffective. Jeb Blunt was their quarterback in this game. He's been unable to move them. What about Pat Hayden? He threw for 2 touchdown passes while he was in the game. Larry McCutcheon has gone over 5,000 yards career rushing. Now again, you are watching live, and this is Vince Ferragamo trying to direct the Rams to his first touchdown as a professional. He's got it. That was number 43 burrowing in there, and more wool for McKay on the Tampa Bay sideline, as the Buccaneers are still looking for their first victory, and they are not going to get it this afternoon. A replay put up by our director in Los Angeles, Tony Verna, and he just got right in there behind the right guard. Irv Cross, the Rams really rolling, but Tampa Bay, what a lowly team that is.
Well, and of course, they're on the verge now of setting an all-time record in consecutive losses, but you know, you don't expect a great deal out of an expansion team, Brent, but of course, everybody's a little disappointed in their performance.
All right, now, we're going to have a two-way interview, but Phyllis, who's our friend over here on the far left checking in?
Can I have a close shot of this gentleman, folks? You may recognize him as a former Baltimore Colts captain of the special teams. And then he went to Atlanta, where he's one of the best wide receivers they'd ever seen. And now you saw him today out at Giant Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Yankees. It's none other than the strawberry blonde of CBS, Alex Hawkins.
If they beat the New York Yankees,
oh, did I say
that's how I nerve her every time.
Jay, I was looking at that shining face over there and was overwhelmed by him. How are you, Alex?
Phyllis, I
to you.
enjoy y'all so much. Congratulations on your Emmy today and the whole thing. You do richly deserve it. Y'all have so much fun.
Well, you know, you're part of our team. We always joke about these teams and how well they play. Well, we're a team here at CBS, and on that whip around, you do such a good job every day in broadcasting with Vince Scully. We want to thank you, too.
He's redheaded, though.
But what are you?
Listen, we've got a couple of big offensive linemen. You know, we usually talk to quarterbacks, right? Well, we're going to take you now to a couple of guys who do the dirty work. Bob Young and Conrad Dobler, the offensive guards for the St. Louis Cardinals. Gentlemen, welcome to the NFL today. Nice job this afternoon. Bob is 64. Dobler is 66. And Bob, let's start with you. Why was it so easy today against the St. Louis Cardinals? You really dominated them.
Minnesota Vikings, I think that's who we played today. But I think the team, and we look upon ourselves as the leaders of the team, and for the Cardinals to do good, our offensive line has to dominate and set an example for the rest of the team. And it took us a few games this year for us to start doing that. We have done it, and we've been winning lately.
Hey, Connie, I want to ask, this is Irv Cross there. Connie, you started out awfully slowly with that Cardinal offense. Everybody in preseason polls felt that you'd have an explosive offense, but you started out with a fairly good defensive performance. And, you know, what did it take to bring it all together?
Well, Irv, I think the reason we started off real slow at the beginning there is because we have a tremendous wealth of backs in the backfield. And at the very beginning of the season, they wanted to try to find a perfect combination in the backfield. And it was difficult to block for this guy or that guy. You got to kind of get the feel of the game. They finally, after the third game, said these are going to be our two backs, and that's who we're going to go with. And we've been producing with them.
Conrad, did you really score that touchdown on that Monday night against the New York Giants? I've been meaning to ask you that question. Now you can tell us because it doesn't matter.
That's what they say I did. And, yeah, I did score it, and it was quite a thrill. In fact, right there afterwards, I even tried to kick the extra point, but they stopped it before they stopped the conversion. It was a very exciting moment for myself.
Bob Young, how does it feel to be the other guard on the St. Louis Cardinals? We're always talking about Conrad Dobler and his reputation as pro football's dirtiest player. Do you ever feel that maybe we overlooked you, big guy, when you're out there?
Well, you know, that's easy to do. It's hard to push too many linemen on one line. We have 5 very good ones, and it's just hard to get all the recognition for all 5 when you have so many of them. I'm used to it. The strongest man contest gave me a little PR, so I guess that makes up for it.
It indeed has, Bob Young, and congratulations to you and Conrad Dobler. Nice job this afternoon in Bloomington against the Minnesota Vikings, and good luck now as you pursue a spot in the playoffs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And the NFL Today will continue on CBS in just a moment. Let's check in now. A couple of games still underway. The Oakland Raiders are going to win again this afternoon. They lead Seattle big in the fourth quarter, 44-7. And the Denver Broncos bounce back after that disappointment of a Sunday ago when they were beaten by Oakland. They lead Pittsburgh 21-0 in the fourth quarter. And here's the final, the game you just watched, well played by the St. Louis Cardinals, who are now coming on as we make the turn and head for home, 27-7 over Minnesota. Tampa Bay, 31-0. We checked in on that game live. The Rams are going to win again today. Kansas City, final score over Green Bay, 20-10. The game ball given to ex-Kansas City coach Paul Wiggin on a vote by the players after the game. Chicago routed this afternoon by Houston and White Shoes Johnson, 47-0, the count there. But the NFC finally scored its first victory over the AFC this year, 20-0. The Lions shut out San Diego. The upset of the day, Buffalo over New England, 24-14. Hooks replaces the injured Simpson and rushes for 156. Grogan tosses 4 interceptions. Cincinnati hangs tough, beat Cleveland 10-7. Anderson was the quarterback all the way, and again it was a Chris Barr field goal that won that game. Miami beats the New York Jets by 4 points, 14-10. Bob Greasy tosses for a couple of touchdowns. San Francisco and Atlanta, another tough game. San Francisco came on in the second half to pull it out, 10-3 the final score. Philadelphia got a couple of touchdown passes out of Jaworski. He also ran for 2 more. 28-7 the final there. And the Dallas Cowboys roll along. 24-10 was the final score there. So now Dallas goes home, and I was just thinking, a week from Monday night, Dallas and St. Louis meeting. What a game that'll be.
With that Conrad Dobler and Young, boy, they are tough, aren't they?
They've got a great offensive line down in St. Louis. They really do. You got some other news for us?
I certainly do. The Dixie 500. Now, we talked about it earlier today, but it is over now. The Dixie 500 stock car race. Darrell Waltrip came from out of the pack to win it after 266 of the scheduled 328 laps were completed. It was halted first by rain and finally by darkness. David Pearson was second and Bernie Parsons third. Highlights of that race will be seen on CBS Sports Spectacular next Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, a little earlier, we told you that 5 boxing promoters have been asked to pay their back taxes to the state of New York. Combined, they owe nearly $400,000, and they're behind for matches they promoted last year. Here's what they owe. Madison Square Garden Boxing, $260,000. Caesars Palace and Caesars World, $103,000. Don King Productions and Main Event, $32,000. That's a lot of money. Good luck, fellas.
Fellas, some of the final stats are in now. Morris for the Cardinals, 182 yards. Metcalf gained 83 yards. Gee, that Minnesota defense just did not play well this afternoon. The NFL today will continue on CBS with some highlights in just a moment. Irv, let's check in on the Dallas Cowboys, and then you can ask Hawkins some questions since he covered that game for us.
Okay, he was there. Of course, everybody knows by now the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Giants by a score of 24-10, and they needed some breaks, though, from their special teams to get on the board early. Here's a punt down here that's muffed and then recovered by a Giant, but then Jay Salty picks it up and rolls into the end zone for the first touchdown of the day for Dallas, and they took a lead here. The Giants have the ball on the 20-yard line, and best position they've had for a while, and Posarsk's pass is picked off by Cliff Harris and sets up a scoring opportunity for the Cowboys. Staubach going to Richards. He's interfered in the end zone there by Bill Bryant. First down for the Cowboys, and the 1. Tony Dorsett goes in. Dallas takes a 21-3 lead here in the third quarter. Bobby Hammond wants to make up for that muffed punt earlier and does here as Danny White punts to him. He takes the ball, and watch this, from the 35-yard line, a nifty 36-yard return down to the 7-yard line, setting up a Giant scoring opportunity, and Bobby Hammond himself takes it in from the 1-yard line, but the Dallas Cowboys remain undefeated and beat the New York Giants 24-10. Hawk, how did you see it?
Complete domination. No, I tell you, the Giants just couldn't come up with the big plays. They really couldn't, and the Cowboys just have too much. They went through the game in a very workmanlike fashion, but they weren't inspired. They just have so much depth overall, Irv, that they're just, there's not a team in their class, with the possible exception of St. Louis.
Hawk, why does a franchise like Dallas move ahead? What do you think are the key ingredients?
It starts at the top and it reflects the management from the top and right on down to the coaches and the players. And they do such a good job of scouting and developing players once they get them. And a lot of teams give up on players a little too early. They've just got good organization.
If you owned a pro football team, would you look first of all for a real good general manager, player personnel director, or a coach? If you could choose one of the three, what would your first choice be?
It would be a good general manager would be my first pick, and then I'd go on from there. And he'll find me a good coach if I get the right general manager. But first, you need the good owner.
That's right.
Would you ever like to do that, go from broadcasting into manager?
No, but I'd like to own a team.
$20 million, we can do it.
Let's check in on New Orleans and Philadelphia. I'll tell you, the Eagles have got a quarterback, formerly of the Rams. Jaworski's his name. Tossed for 2 and ran for 2 more, including this dive over the top. 7-0 after the extra point. Now watch this catch by Lust. Thread the needle here, Ron, and he does. The Polish Rifles got him at the 6. Jaworski going to the tall man, Harold Carmichael. 74 straight games. Carmichael's caught at least 1 pass. Now, Bobby Douglas forced into action, the blonde bomber, because of an injury to Scott. And he had this pass picked off by John Sander, who stepped into the hole. Sander intercepted 2 for the Eagles today. And here's Jaworski looping another one to Jaworski, and it was 21-0. So now, Jaworski, let's see your second run for a touchdown. Time running out, 28-7, the old bootleg play, and the Eagles roll. Irv, San Francisco, Atlanta. That was a toughie.
You know, of course, Huck, you've watched Atlanta for a long time, and the Falcons have a great defensive team, but they just can't seem to get the ball in the end zone. So the 49ers beat them today by a score of 10-3. And on a kickoff here in the third quarter, this is the opening kickoff of the second half, Paul Hulford from San Francisco takes the ball and makes a nice return up here to the 47-yard line. Hawk looks like he had a chance to get more yardage there. But on 1st and 10, Jim Plunkett goes to his tight end, Tom Mitchell. He makes a nice catch there, setting up a scoring opportunity for Wilbur Jackson. He goes in from the 1-yard line. That's really all they needed. San Francisco 7, Atlanta nothing here in the third quarter. And defense, of course, is the name of the game, Brent, when these two teams get together. Woody Thompson looks like he has a good run here off his right end. Is hit, fumbles the ball. Tony Renner recovers for San Francisco, takes it back to the 19-yard line. But watch what happens on the next series of plays. Delvin Williams for the 49ers is hit. He fumbles, and the ball is picked up by Andy Spiva of Atlanta. And the only score Atlanta could get was a Freddie Steinfort field goal, and the game ended that way. San Francisco 10, Atlanta 3.
Huck, Atlanta's your hometown. What's the feeling down there now? They've come back this year.
Brent, I've never seen a transformation in the team since Eddie LeBaron and the coaching staff that he selected came into the town. They have turned players that thought like losers, that would want to fight everybody that came in after the games to interview them and things like that. The ghost of Norm Van Brocklin is dead, is what it amounts to. They've turned him into very positive thinking people. I have never seen anything like that in my life, ever in sports.
Think like winners, you two guys. That a key for a pro athlete?
You always have to be positive, Brent, no matter what you do. But I'm still confused, though, with that Atlanta offense not being able to score any. If they could score 10 points a game, they win a lot of ball games.
Yeah, but they've got a very young offensive line. They've got 2 rookies, a second-year man, a third-year man playing. They really only have 1 veteran that you could consider, and that's Jeff Van Note. But if they get that together, then everything else will fall into place. You know that, Eric.
Hawk and Irv, Pittsburgh has just scored, but they still trail Denver 21-7. That game now in the fourth quarter. There's a team in Chicago that might be thinking like losers. They got routed this afternoon by the Houston Oilers. 47-0 was the count, and White Shoes Johnson was a key man. Here's the end around. Many of you may have seen it before. He turns it on. Not only that, he gets you down in the end zone, and then he does a little embarrassing act down there on you. And if you're a cornerback, you got to say, oh, do I want to get even with you? But it was not to be for Chicago's secondary. Pastorini had a marvelous day. A lot of time right here. He hit Kenny Burrell for a couple of scores, 85 and 43 yards. Walter Payton was held 79 yards, and he had this turnover right here. Chicago all year has been unable to run against that 3-4. I'm going to ask Irv and Hawk about that as Bingham scoops it up and runs back into the end zone. This made it 38-0. Now, 3rd and 12 on the own 11. Mike Phipps replaced Avellini. He's smeared for the safety. And that gives White Shoes Johnson one more chance to turn it loose. On the free kick after the safety, he busts right up the middle, and it looked like about half that special team had a shot at him. He got over to the outside. Watch 85 lose a shoe. Schubert. He's the last man who could have caught him. And White Shoes has got one more stunt for us, Hawk. He's going to go up over 10 feet and dunk it over the top. Huck, what about running now against a 3-4? Why should it be different for a team like Chicago?
I'm afraid you're probably asking the wrong person. Irv knows more football than I do.
Why, Irv told me that you were an expert, Captain Midnight. You used to draw the X's and O's in Baltimore for sure.
Well, the difference being, though, that, see, I got to watch a lot of games, but he was playing and then went on to coaching.
I'm sorry. Shula told me you were the poker expert on that team. I apologize,
Guilty.
Huck. The NFL Today
Guilty, yeah.
will continue on CBS in just a moment. All right, let me welcome those of you who have been watching Los Angeles, Tampa Bay. For those of you who were not, the final score was 31-0. The Los Angeles Rams over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Phyllis, we've just received a message out of Denver about the commissioner.
And I want to ask Irv and Hawk about this. Roselle's in Denver to talk to Joe Green about Joe Green's verbal attacks and abuse on officials on the field. Pete says he won't take any action until after he meets with Joe Green. Now, how serious is it? And I'm sure it happens all the time. Why mean Joe Green? Hawk?
I think Mean Joe Green made some statement in regard to him levying a fine on one of the Cincinnati players on a Monday night game for unnecessary roughness or some kind of conduct. And I think that he levied something like a $2,000 fine on him.
Ooh.
And Mean Joe Green kind of took exception to that and decided that it wasn't the commissioner's job to do that the players might ought to police up their own game, which I'm much in favor of.
You know, I don't know specifically what the incident is that Joe is referring to, Phyllis, but I know generally as a policy in the league, anytime anybody publicly criticizes officials, whether it's a player or a coach or anybody in team management, is subject to some kind of disciplinary action from the commissioner, and that might be
Did either of you guys ever have the urge to do it while you were playing? You got mad at an official and you said something maybe you wish you hadn't have said?
Got mad at him all the time.
But you didn't say it, right? Your mother told you not to say those things.
Final is in now on Oakland. They beat Seattle 44-7 is the count there. And Irv, let's pick up the highlights with Green Bay, Kansas City. We haven't seen them yet this afternoon.
Okay, Kansas City picked up their second win today, Brent, under a new head coach in Tom Bettis. Of course, Paul Wiggin was fired earlier in the week, and they won by a score of 20-10. And it was really Kansas City all the way today. Mike Livingston goes to the air early in the ball game and hits Walter White, an outstanding tight end, and he goes out of bounds to the 14-yard line, which sets up another scoring opportunity for the Chiefs. This time, Livingston to Marshall. He goes in for a score, and they take a 10-0 lead at this point in the game. Mike Livingston hands the ball off to number 14, Podolak, who goes in from the 1-yard line, 17-3, Kansas City. On a kickoff here, Steve Odom, little razzle-dazzle, takes the ball and hands off to rookie number 34, Middleton. And Middleton goes all the way, 97 yards for a touchdown, but too late, too little. And Kansas City picked up their second win of the year, 20-10, or their first of the year under their new head coach. And by the way, Paul Wiggin received the game ball from his teammates.
That was something, wasn't it? Hawk and Irv, the Cincinnati Bengals also bounced back in the playoff picture in the AFC as St. Louis did in the NFC. Kenny Anderson was the quarterback today against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Isaac Curtis with a comeback, playing with that injured leg. He's run out of bounds at the Cleveland 11-yard line. This was a tough football game. They really banged away. Here's Johnson from Ohio State. Touchdown run. 7-0 after the extra point. Brian Sipe. Phyllis, he played well after you interviewed him early this week. He hits Reggie Rucker, run out at the 13-yard line, but it set up this touchdown. And it's your man Sipe. Going to go to his tight end, Oscar Rohn. Got him at the 1. Touchdown. It was tied. And again, it was Barr. Oh, how important these field goal kickers are. 10-7. Cincinnati wins. And Irv, what about Miami and the Jets?
Miami and the Jets, 14-10 Miami, Brent. They pick up their 6th win of the year, and the Jets, on the other hand, suffered their 6th defeat of the year, and it looked like it was going to be the Bob Greasy Harris show. In the second quarter, Greasy goes to number 82, Duriel Harris, who rips upfield for a touchdown. Miami 7, the Jets 3. Greasy again, number 82, Mr. Harris. He goes in for another score. Miami 14, the Jets 3. The Jets tried to get back on defense, but Miami's defense holds the Jets. They're inside the 1-yard line. Dahmer is substituting here, throws a touchdown pass to Barkham. And Miami's defense here does the job again. Dahmer, who was in there for Todd, who was injured earlier in the ball game, can't find anybody open, just simply throws the ball away. But too late, too little again, Brent. Miami won the game 14-10.
Irv, the commissioner's office just called. They have not yet fined Joe Green, but the commissioner will talk to him after today's game. Let's check in on the standings right now as we have made the turn. We'll start in the NFC East. Dallas Cowboys, and there are the St. Louis Cardinals. With that big win today over Minnesota, they bounce back because that wild card spot in the NFC is so wide open. Now, how about the NFC Central? Well, it is always Minnesota again. But Chicago has to be asking itself, if we had just made a move this year, we would have had a shot. Detroit now beat San Diego today, so at 500, they're not out of the wild card picture. And I'll tell you, Minnesota, the way they played today, they'll have to be much stronger just to hold on to that lead. And in the West, as we've got some fine races brewing, the Rams with a one-game lead on the Atlanta Falcons, 500. Who would have thought that? And one of these days, Tampa Bay has got to bust loose. San Francisco on the rebound. Over now in the AFC, Baltimore and Miami. And, of course, the story there is Baltimore plays Washington tomorrow night. And how about those Dolphins coming back under Don Shula? That's a good coaching job, isn't it? And New England, what a battle that's going to be. In the AFC Central now, there it is. Cleveland with a one-game lead over Pittsburgh, Houston, and Cincinnati. Talk about a wide-open race. Western Division now, well, it is the Denver Broncos with that big apparent victory over Pittsburgh. It's still 21-7 in the fourth quarter. They are tied with Oakland, San Diego, Kansas City, and Seattle. And, Hawk, we never get a chance to ask you if you've got any predictions. Who do you think is going to make it to the Super Bowl?
I would say right now it looks like Los Angeles and Dallas. They're the best two teams I've seen today.
You're right.
The Cowboys, it's their year. It's their year. In that AFC, I never get to see any of the teams, so I really don't know.
Okay, that wraps it up for Alex Hawkins, Irv Cross, Phyllis George. I'm Brent Musburger. We certainly hope that you've enjoyed the NFL Today on CBS. See you next Sunday, everybody. Have a nice week, and stay tuned for 60 Minutes.
The NFL Today.